This is the Bob McCown podcast. Dave Hodge in for Bob all week and joined by the head coach of the Winnipeg Jets, who, by the way, have won both of their preseason games this year, Rick Bowness. So now does winning 2 preseason games make you happy, or does it really matter?
Now you got to keep things in perspective. First of all, I want to say hello to my good old friend Dave Hodge. I haven't seen him for a while. It looks good. Nice to be on the same show with him. He's a legend and nothing but respect for the man. But yeah, our team, well, last night Bakersfield showed up. So and we had a pretty good lineup. So we're not going to get too wrapped up in that. The game in Edmonton, neither team had their A squad. But I think most important thing we're looking for, John, is who's competing and who's catching on to what were the little adjustments we're trying to make to our game. It's more about that than anything. Last night was very important to us in terms of, does Gabe Velarde fit with Mark Scheifele and KC? So we like the looks of that line. We don't know much about Rasmus Kupari other than watching some video with him. He didn't play a lot in LA. We're trying to get a real good feel for him. There's some young defensemen we're trying to get a look at to see if they're going to make us a better team when the season starts. So we're making progress in all those areas.
Well, hello, Rick, and thank you for the nice words. I'm not going to say the Jets have never been interesting, but you got the whole league talking, wondering already about pending free agents, Mark Scheifele and Connor Hellebuck. Maybe you'd like that talk to end somehow, and there are a few ways it could. But if you're not being asked right at the moment about trades that might happen, you have been asked about one that did happen, and you just referenced the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade, if I can call it that. He was one of your top forwards. He's now an LA King. What will it do for the Jets to get 3 players for 1?
Yeah, it clearly improves our depth. But you know what? The most important thing out of that, Dave, is these 3 guys want to be here. They're happy to be Winnipeg Jets. We've heard enough of the guy. We don't want to be here. We don't want to be here. And when I called these guys, all 3 of them, as soon as we made the trade, all 3 of them said they're thrilled to come to Winnipeg and they want to be Winnipeg Jets and they're proud to be Winnipeg Jets. So it starts with that. It starts with their attitude coming in. Now what they're bringing to the table is they're all 3 National Hockey League players. We love what we saw from Gabe last night. Alex Iafallo had a really good game in Edmonton, playing with Adam Lowry and Mason Appleton. So we're kind of liking the looks of that. And again, last night was our first real look at Rasmus Kupari. He's in practices, you can see this kid can skate. He has good skills. He won some key faceoffs for him last night, but you can see with the skating and the skills and the size, he's a big, strong kid, why he was a first-round pick by the LA Kings. Now, he hasn't played as much as the other 2. So we know pretty much where the other 2 are going to fit in. We're going to try to give Rasmus a more of an involved role with our hockey club than he had with the Kings. He's a young player, and it's time that he took that next step, and we're going to give him that opportunity.
Do you like the games being played so soon in training camp? Would you prefer more practice time?
No, you know what, John? The guys report in such great shape. They do. They're ready to go. And we do the testing and we do the skating and everything, and they're just flying through everything. So honestly, you might as well, and camps are shorter now. They're only 21 days, and they've got to have a couple of days off in that. So no, it doesn't really bother me that we're playing games as quick as we are. If it was the other way around years ago when guys were coming to camp to get in shape, you'd have a whole other argument, a whole other discussion. But honestly, right now, after a long summer, and for us, because we lost in the first round, the guys are anxious to get into some games. We've got 4 more to go. We've got 1 here with Calgary tomorrow night. Then we're going in Ottawa on Friday. Then 2 next week. Most of our players. The encouraging thing for us is that most of our good players, our veteran players, returning players, want to play in those last 2 exhibition games. So we give them a game early to just get the kinks out. And all those first games, how sloppy they are for everybody. But it's encouraging that our guys, they want to play in those last couple extra exhibition games. So your point of getting a game early, yeah, but the players want to get into a game early, and then they want to finish strong. So yeah, we're happy with that.
Well, I don't know if you're happy with this, but I want to get back to the names I mentioned a moment ago, Shifley and Hellebuck. How do you as a coach handle all of the talk that will surround everything they do once the season starts, assuming they're still Winnipeg Jets?
Well, the good thing with that is they're good pros. They're not kids. They've been around the league a long time. They're both 30 years old. They understand the business side of this game now. They've been around long enough. They've seen their teammates come and go. They've paid close attention to what's gone on to future unrestricted free agents around the league. So they've got a good feel. They're character guys, and I'm not worried about it being a distraction to them. Now, with the media, it's going to be a lot of noise. When we understand that. But fortunately, like, we're not going to let it internally to be a distraction to us. And I know those two individuals will be able to handle it. They're going to play their game. They're going to come to the rink every day. They're going to be a good pro. They're going to be good Winnipeg Jets. Hopefully things can get resolved with them and get them both signed, so they're here for a lot longer than just 1 year. That will play itself out over time. But I am not worried about them being distracted by it at all. And I'm not going to let it won't. And because of that, it should not be an internal distraction within the locker room as well.
The interesting thing is that it's probably more of a distraction when you're on the road than you are at home, because most of the local media understand what your position is. But every time you come to Toronto, or every time you go to Boston, or you go to cities where both players have been rumored to be going, it will become a focal point, won't it? And you almost have to prepare yourself for that.
We will. And fortunately, we're only going to those cities once. We're going east one. That's enough. So, yeah, again, you're right. These guys are going to get tired of asking them the same questions every day, and they'll move on. But when we do wherever we go, I know that's going to be a focal point on them. But again, the good news that they're pros, and they'll handle it. And we've got, Scott Brown here does a wonderful job with the media, with relations with the team, and he understands all this. He has a great rapport with our players. So we won't let it become, again, most important thing is not become internal noise, internal distraction, and the people we have involved, I'm sure we're going to handle it.
We're about 10 minutes into this discussion. Were you expecting a question about end of season comments?
No. We've moved on. That's almost 5 months ago. Like, we dealt with that right away.
I know what you did. You referenced it, I know, at the start of training camp. Could you tell us exactly how you referenced it?
I called every player and talked to them right away. And they had something to say it. And when they had, but at the end of every conversation, they understood where I was coming from. And very few of them, and most of them agreed with me. You know what? So I think, Dave, if you take the words and the emotion away from it, but focus on the content was right. We weren't very good. So take the emotion and intensity out of it, take the words out of it, focus on the content, focus on what the message was. The message was right. We weren't good enough. And sometimes in life, as you know, in this job, you draw a line in the sand. And when you draw a line in the sand, you're usually going to get a couple of guys rattled by it. And that's fine. That was the objective of it, to get them rattled, to get them thinking about it. But honestly, we've moved on. That hasn't been brought up with any of the players. But but you're right. If you let it linger, we didn't let it linger. We had dealt with it right away. They said what they had to say. They understood where I was coming from, and we've moved on.
Well, I called it brutally honest, and some people liked the honest part, and some people didn't like the brutal part. And the next question comes from John Shannon.
So, but two things. I remember last year's camp, and even after the first exhibition game last year, Rick, you were angry at the players for their shifts were being way too long. They were going a minute 10, and you wanted that 50 to 55 second shift. How much of what you were trying to instill a year ago has been easier to instill in this camp?
A lot easier. But you got to remember, when they brought me in last year, there was all kinds of culture issues here. There was. So let's not kid ourselves. We knew what we were getting into. The team had missed the playoffs. The team had underachieved. So we had to come in here and we had to raise the bar, both in terms of the culture and the way we played. So we did that. And listen, so we made a lot of adjustments. We did become a tougher team to play against. I know we hit a skid there for a little bit, but the bottom line was we came in to change the culture. We've done that. Get the team back in the playoffs. We've done that. But that all being said, we have to take this team to another level. We're like 31 other teams. We didn't make the playoffs. So we have to be better. I have to be better. The coaches have to be better. The players have to be better. So that's kind of the message that's been sent all summer and the message that we're going to continue right through this year. But we had to get back in the playoffs for sure. And we did that. Were we happy with the way it went? No. So you address it and you move on, but you've got to raise the bar, and we're going to continue to raise the bar, and we're going to continue to keep pushing here.